Welcome back to Cat Dad Things, and we're yet again in Albion Online. Lately, I've been perusing on the Reddit threads, and I've been seeing what people have been asking about the game to try and find content for different videos I can make. And there's been a lot of new player questions. We have a lot of new people coming into the community. So today, I figured I'd make a guide on weapons, specifically starting at the T3 trees, just because not everyone has a lot of time to play games. Some of us can only play an hour every other day, a couple hours a week, who knows. So with this game, because it's so grindy and you have to put so much time into faming up things, especially if you don't have, your money coming in yet, if you don't know how to make silver just quite yet, you don't want to be wasting a lot of your time. So sometimes, I've done this. I've played with weapons, and after I've leveled them up pretty far, I've decided they weren't really my cup of tea. I didn't really like them. So today I thought I'd go through at least the T3 ones to give everyone a head start so they can see how the weapons play, what they might be used in, so they can make a better decision to use their time more wisely so they can have more fun later. Also, don't forget to subscribe, as I'm trying to get this channel off the ground so that more people can see these guides and hopefully get into these games and learn something. Okay, so here we are. We're just outside the Fractured Ground map, and we're here with just some very basic, easy, low-level mobs, low-tier mobs. You can see we're close to Bridgewatch. We're right next to the starting area and this part of the world map. And here's going to be our little testing ground. In our inventory, I've got all the T3 weapons here. We're not really going to focus on the armors today, as that can be a different video, a different guide. So today it's just about the weapons, because the weapon choice that you choose is very important for the kind of gameplay they want to do, whether you're trying to do PvP, PvE, you want to be a healer, you want to be a tank, range DPS, melee DPS. It really does depend. The game is good at letting you be interchangeable, but sometimes you have to invest a lot of time to get to that point. So you might not want to spend all this time in a certain weapon line just to find out, I don't really like that weapon, or I don't like how it plays. So I thought I'd go through all the T3 weapons today so you can kind of see for yourself, get a feel. That way you're not wasting time, because getting fame can take a while depending on how much time a day a person has to play. So the first off, we're going with one of my personal favorites, the one-handed spear. Now in the spear tree, I'll also make more videos in the future about the T4 weapons, because that's when they really get diverse. You get your relic weapons and so on and so forth. But at least for now, the one-handed spear is one of my favorites because it's so versatile. You have here in your first Q ability, Lunging Strike, which it does extra physical damage, and it slows your enemy also. So you can kind of almost kite melees just a little bit, but one of the most important parts is you get a spear charge. You see there, it stacks 3 times, and it lasts up to 8 seconds, so you just throw it again, and it'll give you another stack, but it gives you 32% auto attack damage. That's huge. Depending on your build, that can really come in handy. On your W, you can get Forest of Spears, which is kind of like a cone right in front of you, and it gives you some damage every 0.3 seconds for channeling up to 2.1 seconds. You do damage, and I'll use these abilities so you can see them also. For your E, you have Reckless Charge, which is one of the best parts about the one-handed spear. It's got so much packed into one ability: damage, crowd control, mobility. It's great. Depending on how many spear charges that you have were put on your character, the damage will increase. And even if you don't have any spear charges, you can still use the ability. It's a dash, and if you hit your opponent, you actually knock them up, which is actually very, very useful in 1v1s, 1v2s. Being able to interrupt an enemy while you're fighting is huge. So never underestimate that. The cooldown is pretty decent on it as well. For your extra passives that you can put on, you do have more that unlock as you go higher tiers, but today we're just doing tier 3. First one being Slow Poison. Every normal attack, you slow them. So not a big deal. It kind of works just like your Lunging Strike does, so you might not always need that. In fact, what I usually do is I go for the Life Leech. Generally, on most of your weapons, Life Leech, it really doesn't do a whole lot for you because it's only 15% of an auto attack. But again, the nice thing about spears is you get that buffed auto attack damage with your spear charges. Up to 32% is nothing to laugh at. So let's use some of these abilities so you can kind of see it, get a feel for it. So you see here your first Q. See how they're slowed. And you can kind of do it at a distance too. It gives you that hitbox. When you hold it, you see where you can strike. So now we're going to go and try to use our W ability. It looks like this guy's going to help us. And it's a cone that forms right in front of you. Anyone in that cone, you hit. It doesn't matter how many people are there, you're going to hit all of them. And it's a nice little channel. It can be interrupted, so you do have to watch for that. So we'll just do a little bit more fighting here so we can wait for our W. So again, it's a little bit further than your Q, but this is your range here that you can hit it with. It's a very strong ability. In PvP, I kind of like to swap it for other abilities, but we'll cover those in another video. So now I have some spirit charges attached to me. I've got 2 right now, and then I'll use the E, and you can see how that works. So look at those auto attacks. They're pretty beefy. Now your E is very fast. Like, see how fast that was? And I was even able to one-shot that guy. It does the knock-up, it interrupts things, and it's just a really good all-around ability. I love using it for my open world fighting. Whenever I go in the Avalon Roads, this is pretty much the build that I use. I accompany with the Torch, which is the offhand that I'm showing with this. Torch is very basic. It gives you cooldown and attack speed. So it's not like the Mist Caller where it's just cooldown or a shield where it's just giving you defense. You get a little bit of both. And in the higher tiers, that actually, it equates a lot. It helps you a lot, especially again with spears. You want to do auto attacks. You want to weave them into your abilities. And this is giving you some attack speed. So, why not? It's a great little bonus. So for our other abilities we see here, we have the Spirit Spear, which again, depending on your build, it actually makes your spear a little bit ranged. So you see here, enchant your spear, increasing your attack range by 40%. So you actually can semi-use it like a ranged ability, and you also get that auto attack damage increase as well. Now for your W, your second one is Inner Focus. For a lot of one-shot like pike builds, people like to use this because you sit there. Let me equip these abilities. You sit there, you channel it, and it gives you a huge buff. It gives you crowd control effects, increased damage. It gives you even move speed as well, which is actually pretty big. So let me show you how it looks here. You sit here, you channel that, and look at that. I'm faster. My auto attacks are going to do a little bit more damage than normal, because generally they're less than 55. Let's see, they're about 39. So it's a pretty decent buff. Now let's channel the ranged ability on my Q. See how it just channels it? It does cost energy when you do that. And when you're at full stacks, it can actually start to really drain your energy just to keep them active. So you do have to be mindful of that. But now I can shoot it from range. Isn't that neat? Again, depending on your playstyle, depending on your build, it actually comes very useful. On the one-shot pike builds, this is what they like to use because they go in with their Inner Focus. They have the full stacks because you don't need to stack them on any enemies. You can just channel them. They go in, they use their damage, and then they're sitting there poking them, the enemy, while they're rooted from the pike. But we'll cover that build in another video. So for now, that's the spear. Let's move on now to our next weapon. So now let's take a look at the broadsword. We'll go do a basic rundown of the abilities. We have the first one, Heroic Strike. It's kind of like the spear where it does damage and it's a buff. So it's just a boosted auto attack, basically. You get a little bit extra damage. But heroic charges work a little bit differently than the spear charges. You get move speed and you get attack speed, which again, depending on your playstyle, that's actually pretty decent. Using it to stack on people, it depends on what you're trying to get across. You can catch people, you can kite people, you can get away from people. It all just depends. Your W ability, Interrupt, very nice ability. Damage, crowd control, and it's another buff. So as the target, maybe they're channeling something, maybe they're casting a spell, you hit them with this, it interrupts it, it stops it, and it does damage as well. And when you do this, you also get a heroic charge. You can stack up to 3 times, just like the spear. And this is the ability that uses those charges, Mighty Blow. So you see here, you leap towards the enemy, so you actually can use it kind of like a distance closer, a gap closer. And you get a resistance buff for 3 seconds, which is actually pretty decent, especially considering the cooldown is about 12 seconds. It's super low before you can use it again. You deal physical damage based off the amount of charges that you have equipped on the weapon. Broadsword is a very good 1v1 weapon. The cooldowns are low, the damage is high, you can interrupt people, you can buff yourself a little bit. It's nice. So let's use it here. So you see the Q does a big chunk of damage. And I'm moving just a little bit faster every time I use this. So this guy's getting kind of low. He's going to channel... Well, he channels a shield, but use your W. It works just like an auto attack. But in that case, if they were channeling something, obviously they would be interrupted. So your E here, look at that, 380 damage. It's a big hit, and those shields around you, that's the buff where it's increasing your resistances. So broadsword, a really good dueling weapon because you can dish out a lot of damage. You have some CC, a lot of mobility, and you have small cooldowns, which is great for the 1v1. So let's take a look again at that E ability. I'm going to start from here, just hit my E, and look at that distance that it covered. It's pretty decent. Not too shabby. So we'll just clear out these mobs. So now we're going to be looking at our next abilities on the one-handed sword. They're just slightly different changes to the gameplay that you might be doing. So this is right in front of your enemy. It's when you're using it right next to them. But this is an AoE, Heroic Cleave. So you have Heroic Strike, one target, Heroic Cleave. It does multiple and anyone around you. And depending on how many targets you hit, you actually get extra heroic charges. So you can use that in groups like for PvE, or depending if you're doing small scale PvP, it'd be good to use as well. You have Iron Will. Iron Will is a very good ability to understand when it's appropriate to use, because it's one of the few ways in the game that you can make yourself purgeless. So I'll read it here. It rushes into battle, it increases your movement speed, and you get a sizable defense buff from it. So here's the big part. Grants you immunity to purges while active. A lot of times when you're fighting, especially in the corrupted dungeons, your 1v1s, your enemies will run purge builds. Maybe you have a merc jacket, so you're trying to get lifesteal. Maybe you have some kind of a buff that you're trying to use in your build, and your enemy runs a purge build that takes away all of your active bonuses. So when you have this in the sword tree, it makes you immune to it. It's very good ability. When you learn how to use it, you can counteract a lot of people's builds. And our passive, Deep Cuts, it's just like the daggers. They have it too. Every 4 normal auto attacks, you get a small dot. And Weakening, this is more for PvE, but you can use it in PvP too. Every normal attack increases the damage the target deals, and it's healing cast by 4% for 2 seconds. So when you're doing PvP, there might be a lot of kiting. You might not always be on top of them with auto attacks, so it's kind of okay. You're probably better going off with a different passive though. So we'll just see here how the W looks and the Q. So you see, it's not a huge area, but you can hit people still from a little distance away. And then your Purge here, your Iron Will. See, it gives you the extra heroic charge, and it makes you blue, so you know it's active. Okay, our next weapon now. We're gonna go to the one-handed dagger. So another rundown of this weapon. We have the Sunder Armor, which is just a buffed auto attack in essence. You attack the enemy, you deal physical damage, and you apply Sunder Armor charges on the enemy. As it says here, each Sunder Armor, you're basically debuffing them, you're shredding their resistances. And it's not just armor, it's also magic resistance, because it says right there, just resistances. You can stack up to 3 times. Your mobs, you get a little bit more for it, but for PvP, they kind of lessened it just a little bit, so it's not overpowered. The cooldown is really short though. 2 seconds, you can be spamming this quite a bit. So we'll equip it there. For your first ability on the W, you have Throwing Blades, which is a damage and a buff. You throw 3 blades in front of you, like a cone. They deal magic damage, and you get increased movement speed, and you get a damage buff. Now, the wonderful thing about Throwing Blades, I like using it a lot on daggers, because it's like a ranged poke kind of deal that you can use sometimes. You can use it to gap close to enemies because you are using a dagger, so you're trying to get on them. Sometimes they want to kite you. And with Throwing Blades, depending on how many enemies that you hit, unique enemies, your move speed and your damage will go up. So it's not just a flat 15%. Depending on how many you hit, you can stack it up to 3 times. And you can go super fast with this. Your E ability, Bloodthirsty Blade, is damage, healing, and it's a buff. So this ability is really strong, but you have to know how to use it or else you can kill yourself. So what happens is you buff your auto attacks, like you supercharge them. You give them 107 magical damage versus players, and then 64 versus mobs. And it steals 100% of the health that you do. So 100% life steal on it. And it also increases your move speed, so it helps with the kiting. But the caveat to this is when you have it equipped, if you're not doing any damage, you're not healing anything, 4% of your max health is lost every second. So if you just have this going and you're not hitting anyone, it's actually going to do a lot of damage to you. So that's where you kind of have to learn how to use it, when to use it, when to go in, when not to, things like that. So for your passive abilities, you have deep cuts, very self-explanatory. Every 4 autos, they get a very small bleed on them for about 1.5 seconds. With this, you'd actually do a lot of damage because your auto attacks are hitting pretty fast. Again, you also get life leech, depending on the situation, that'd be good. And then you get an attack speed buff. Every 5 normal attacks, you get 30% attack speed for 3 seconds. So for this one, we're just going to go for deep cuts. Oh, actually, we're going to fight this guy because he's killing us. It was actually very close. Look at that. Easy as pie. All right. Well, let's go back and equip. Let's see, that passive is equipped. So I'll just activate our E here just so that you can see how fast your health will drain. I'm going to wait just a little bit more regen so I don't accidentally kill myself while using it. That's about good. So I'll just activate it here. So see how it's doing damage to me? Now that can be super detrimental to you in a 1v1. It just depends on what's going on. You want to make sure you're sticking to your opponent and you're actually hitting them. So we'll get a little bit of cooldown going on here. And we'll do some fighting now. So the daggers, all of them, they attack very fast. Their attack speed is quite nice. I'm going to throw my W now as a cone in front of me, and you can see how much movement speed I'll get from it. So it's actually a pretty decent amount of movement speed. You see the stacks there? And that gives you an attack bonus as well. So now let's channel the E, and you'll see just how fast this thing shreds. See, that's a lot of damage. Now, I don't have much attack speed with this build. It's only T3. I'm not using other armors that synergize well with it. But you can actually shred someone's health bar pretty fast when you're ripping through them with the E. So, very nice weapon to use. So here we have Deadly Swipe. I use this a lot in my 1v1s. Even in your group content, whether it's PvE, PvP, it's very strong because it gives you huge mobility. You leap towards a targeted position, you deal a chunk of damage, and it gives you Assassin Spirit. Now, Assassin Spirit is a huge thing on daggers because not so much with the E on the one-handed dagger, it's more so on different dagger builds, but it gives you charges just like the other melee weapons do. Each Assassin Spirit charge increases all your damage by 6%. So it's not like the spear, it gives you more auto attack damage. But for this, it gives you an increase to all of your damage. And it does stack up to 3 times. Now, an important change that they made a while ago to Deadly Swipe, dagger players were running into the problem of huge energy drains. So when you at least hit one enemy with it, you restore 9 energy. So there's some give back to the energy cost. It incentivizes fighting instead of just kiting endlessly. It's a small buff, but it does help in some situations. And then here, your second ability for your W is Dash. Dash really isn't used a whole lot. There's other abilities that are much better for daggers, but if it's all you have, sometimes that's what you got to roll with. So all you do is dash toward a targeted position. It gives you a damage buff by 15% from all sources for 4 seconds, and the energy cost is 1%. So however much you have, it's 5% of that. So we'll equip it there. We'll show it off in a second. Daggers have gone through a lot of changes, and they're about to go through more changes in this upcoming patch. We're getting the black hands removed, sadly. Rip black hands. I loved using them. A lot of fun. So anyway, you see the dash range here. It's very fast. The dash used to be a lot longer, and it was slower when you got to it, but they kind of shortened it over time. They realized it was a very strong ability. So you just kind of dash. You see that little circle around you. That's your damage buff. You get it for 4 seconds. And here's the Q. Just a small mobility. And you'd be surprised at how often this will save your behind in a fight, or it'll help you chase down an enemy. And again, just like with the spirit charges from your spear or your heroic cleave, Depending on how many enemies you hit, you can get 2 charges on that. So it's a pretty good ability. And it's really hard using this without the attack speed. Anyway, so that's just the one-handed dagger. Strong, especially for 1v1s in PvP. I don't use it a whole lot, but you might have fun with it. So with this weapon we have now is the hammer. So the hammer is generally considered a tanking weapon. So you do a lot of, like, your tanks generally run these kind of weapons for your PvE, but you can use them in PvP as well. So to start us off, we'll take a look at the Q, bash knee. It does damage, it does crowd control. So it gives some physical damage, but it gives a pretty decent slow, 30% for 3.5 seconds. That's a pretty long time to have, especially considering the cooldown is 2 seconds. You could, if you zero in on a target, if you so wish, you can have them perma-slowed. So that's great for peeling maybe your backline, peeling your healers in a PvE situation or even a PvP situation. Our W ability, Heavy Smash, actually does quite a bit of damage. You pound the ground in a cone in front of you and you deal a huge chunk of damage at the center. And if you hit them kind of on the outside, the damage is not that much less, honestly. It's basically the same. Cooldown is 15 seconds, pretty low. And then your E ability, Earth Shatter. So Earth Shatter is a big CC ability. You don't do a whole lot of damage, but your radius around you is pretty decent, 5.5 meters. But you stun everyone around you for 2 seconds. Now that's a really strong ability, again, if you're trying to peel for your backline. This hammer doesn't do a whole lot of damage. You're usually using it for peel, but you can do damage too. It's not that you can't. Your passive Stunning Strike, every 5 normal auto attacks, you stun the target. So it's actually a pretty strong ability when you're just whacking on people trying to keep them locked down. Every so often, you'll just get a little baby stun, and it's good for like casters or maybe bows or crossbows when they're trying to channel abilities. You get a free interrupt just off of that. Your second passive, Energetic, if you happen to be running really fast through your energy, you can always equip that, give you some more sustain. I actually don't play hammers enough, obviously, because I don't even have the third passive unlocked yet, but it's another life leech. So we'll use these abilities now, just kind of see how they work. So auto attacking, again, it's not that much with the auto attacks, but you can see you get that little debuff on them. They're slowed. Can't really kite them because this guy's fighting him. But now we'll find someone for our W, which again is the Heavy Smash. It's a cone, and you charge it up. So it's a strong ability, but it's very easily avoided. When you're fighting mobs, obviously, not so much because it's all telegraphed. But when you're fighting someone else, it can be hard to get off that W. So a lot of builds that I've seen, they'll run more like stun builds so that they lock them in place first. So a typical combo maybe would be you Q someone, you hit your E, which stun everyone in front of you, and then you throw out your W. So you can kind of guarantee that you'll get it off. Because when you do, it does do a big amount of damage. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, when you I did equip the shield for this because it's more of a tank style. Your shield, your basic shield is a very, very basic stat stick. You get some CC resistance from it, defense from players, defense from mobs. They separate that so you know. And your threat generation. So obviously it's a very big tanking weapon. Most shields have that where you get increased threat against your enemies. So now we're going to take a look at the other Q and W abilities on this. The second one being Threatening Strike. So this is definitely for your PvE. It does do more damage than your first one, but the slow from it is just really strong. You get 178 physical damage, and you increase your threat by 400%. So that goes without saying, that is a PvE ability. Your second W, very strong for maybe 2v2 Hellgate teams, or even your 5v5s, your small-scale PvP. I've seen this ability used a lot. It's crowd control, and it's a mobility. Ability that you can use. You dash toward the targeted position, and you slow all enemies you pass through by 50% for 3.5 seconds with a 15-second cooldown. Again, it is very strong for kiting, for keeping your backline safe for peel. So your Threatening Strike, we'll just use it on this guy. You do damage, he's threatened, not a big deal. But your Slowing Charge, let's see, let's stun him, get him dead. Your slowing charge, I'll use it on both of these guys because anyone you touch with it is affected by it. So you see the distance is pretty good and you travel quite fast. And look at that slow. Like they're taking forever to catch back up to me. So if you like being that front line, beefy kind of a play style for your team, slowing charge is a very strong ability. I love the axe tree. The axe tree has been one of my favorites since I started playing this game, and it's always been up to this day. The battle axe went through a minor change, again, not too long ago. It worked a little bit differently. Honestly, I think the change was for the better because now you can use it in most PvE situations. A lot of decent 1v1 PvP styles you can build with the battle axe as well. So it's a very good all-around weapon. If you like melee, I highly suggest starting with spears or battle axe or axes. So rundown of the abilities. Your first one, Rending Strike. So this is a single target. You deal damage to the enemy, and it applies a bleed stack. So the bleed stack, they bleed health out, physical damage over 6 seconds, and you can actually stack this up to 3 times. So the bleed can start doing some significant damage once you stack it up. But one of the best parts about it is it's a heal cut. So if the maximum amount of stacks, so you have to hit 3 stacks, the healing that the enemy receives is reduced by 12% for 5 seconds. So it's important to remember you have to have full bleed stacks in order to have that debuff on them. It's a very short cooldown, just like the Dagger's Q. Let's move on to the W. The first one is Deadly Chop. Deadly Chop is actually pretty strong, and I don't see a lot of people use it in 1v1s, and it does a lot more than most realize. So maybe try it out and see how it works for you. You do a very big damage ability to the enemy. It usually hits pretty hard, 312 at least for this one at T3, and you decrease their resistances by 40 for 8 seconds. That's actually a long time to have that kind of a debuff on them. So it's a lot stronger than people realize. I definitely like to use it sometimes, so it just depends on what you're fighting. Now the E ability, Blood Bandit. It does damage, healing, and crowd control. So you throw your axe in a targeted direction, you deal a big amount of damage. No matter how many stacks you have, that's the damage it does. Some of the other weapons are dependent on the stacks, but for this one, it will do that amount of damage. When you hit someone, it slows them by 20% for 2 seconds, so you can kind of do a kiting style with this, depending if you're up against a melee matchup, or if you're, of course, fighting mobs. Now, one of the best parts here, it steals a percentage of the health the enemy have lost based on the Rending Bleed charges. So, depending on how many bleed stacks you have on them, the damage that this ability does will take a percentage of health from them. So if you have 1 stack, 30%, 2 stacks, 60%, and if you have 3 bleed stacks on them, 100% of damage from this ability you gain back as health, which is really strong. I mean, look at the cooldown. It's a 10-second cooldown, 9.7 because I have my torch equipped, but it's a 10-second cooldown. That's super low for that much sustain. It's a really strong ability. Again, for your passives, you have deep cuts. Most things have deep cuts in their first one, at least for the melees. So every 4 normal auto attacks, you get a small bleed, and you also get life leech. So with this build, you can do like a super heavy sustain lifesteal build, and it works great. It works perfectly. So let's use some of these abilities now just to check them out. We'll go in there. The auto attacks are decent. They're not that big, but see, there's your Rending Strike. Cooldown, super low, and it's very easy to stack it full on enemies. We'll try out the W here. And you see, it just does big damage, big time damage to enemies. Now, again, with your E, the range is okay. So we'll stand here next to this thing, and we'll throw it at them. And you see how far it travels? And it doesn't matter how many targets it hit. If there's 20 guys right here, it's going to do damage to all 20 of them. There's no cap on how many people it can hit. But you get the lifesteal from it. So in PvE, you can get a ton of sustain in group mobs. And again, if you're doing PvP, it's a nice way to out-sustain your opponent. A lot of PvP now is about one-shots and sustain. So it just kind of depends on your style, how you like to do it. Let's now take a look at the other abilities we have on our W. The second Q is Rending Spin, so just like the Heroic Cleave that we saw, instead of it being single target, it's now AoE. Now, there is an important difference with the axes on Rending Spin, for example, and we'll look at that in a second. Our second ability for our W is Adrenaline Boost. Adrenaline Boost is a super strong open world ability. It's strong in Corrupted Dungeons too, but for open world, it's really good because it gives you damage, which is always good, and you get a 40% movement speed buff for 7 seconds. That's almost another run essentially that you have just equipped on your W. You also get an attack speed boost, which with this one is pretty nice. Now, something that they did do to make sure that you couldn't just get away endlessly, if you don't deal direct damage for 3.5 seconds, the adrenaline boost does end. So they tried getting around people just having like a second run ability on their kit equipped on their axe, but there's a way actually to kind of use that. But it's still a very strong ability. Depending on your build, a lot of times I see people, I'll do it too. You use this over any of the other W abilities just because the movement speed you get it is so strong. It keeps you from getting kited. The cooldown isn't that long. It's really good. So now the Q, it's important to remember when you're using the rending spin is you see that little circle there? You still hit them if they hit inside of the circle and you still give them a rend. But if you hit them on the outside of the circle, you actually do more damage. So if you're familiar with League of Legends, it's kind of like Darius's ability with his Q. You still do damage when you hit people on the inside, but you're trying to hit them on the outside. That's what does the most damage. So it encourages you to kind of keep yourself moving so you're never just standing still. It's strong. Axes are great, especially Great Axe. I love it. Infernal Scythe. All of them are really good. But for 1v1s, I'd say the Battle Axe right now is really a really strong pick. Now we're going to make our way to the Quarterstaff. So we have to get rid of our offhand because this is a two-handed weapon. Quarterstaffs are great, again, for any activity. They're really, really, really strong in ganking. They're very good for crystal teams, things such as that, because of their CC that they offer to the team. They're very high utility. They have really good mobility. Quarterstaffs are a great weapon when you want to really help your team out. They don't do the most damage. They're not really there to do a lot of burst or things like that, but they can do it. Don't underestimate it. There's a lot of PvP builds in the Corrupted Dungeons with something in the Quarterstaff tree, and you can actually win a lot with it. So as a basic rundown, our Q1, Concussive Blow, damage, crowd control, and it's a buff. You hit someone with it, it does a good amount of physical damage. If you get 2 charges on them of the Concussive Blow, they will be stunned for 1.4 seconds and consume all the charges. This thing is on a 3-second cooldown, so you can get a stun off on someone pretty frequently when you're spamming this Q. When you use it, it increases your threat generation, so that's good for PvE, obviously. And the duration of your crowd control effects increase, which stack, so that can synergize well with your stuns and things like that. Your W, Empowered Slam, not really the best W. Most people don't really use it, but it's there if you want it. You slam the target enemy, you deal some damage, but you do purge shields. So that's kind of good, but again, I don't really see people use this a whole lot. Your E is Vault Leap. Vault Leap is a really strong ability. Damage, crowd control, mobility. You leap into the air and you go to your targeted position. You do a good amount of damage and you can't be interrupted. So that's one of the nice things about it is once you go through this ability, it's going to happen. And it throws all enemies into the air that you hit for 0.7 seconds. So it's more of an interrupt, maybe for catch if someone's starting to run, just depending on how you want to use it. Your passive, Stunning Strike, just like the Mace and Hammer. Every 5 normal auto attacks, it's a stun. Very strong on this weapon because there's so much interruption on this. That's generally what you want to use. Again, you can go energetic if you're having energy issues. Life Leech. Personally, I would never use Life Leech on a Quarterstaff. That's not what the weapon is for. So let's try out these abilities now. So Concussive Hit, pretty decent. You have a charge. There's your second one. And it just builds up. So you see he got stunned from the auto attack. That was just after 5 auto attacks. So our W now. You see it hits. It does a good amount of damage. But again, it's not... There's other abilities that people would prefer to use. And then your E. So we'll stand here and we'll use it. See, look at that distance. How far that goes. So you leap up in the air. You strike down. Everyone's interrupted. Very good interruption ability. Or even if you just want to get away. It's on a very low cooldown. You can use that for mobility as well. To kite people or whatever you want to do. Now our Q2 is Cartwheel. Cartwheel is a very good ability as well. Damage, crowd control buff, and mobility. you kind of do, you actually do a cartwheel. You do this cartwheel dash towards a position, and anyone you hit, you knock them back slightly. So it's an interrupt. It's a very strong ability with that. You do some damage, but here's the nice part about it. If you take damage while dashing, so in the middle of your cartwheel, if you take damage, you get damage resistances, and you get a move speed buff on it as well. So it's very good for maybe you're trying to get away from ganks, or you're trying to just be a nuisance in a team fight. I mean, who knows? Your W2 stun run. This is generally what you see on Quarterstaff users is the stun run. It's crowd control. It's a buff. You get a nice little movement speed buff by 30% for 4 seconds, which is very good. And the first attack you do, so your first auto attack, you stun the enemy for 2 seconds. And it's on a 15-second cooldown, which is pretty short. So with all of these abilities working in tandem with each other, you have so much CC on Quarterstaffs. You are a nuisance. Whether you're trying to take down certain mechanics from mobs, you're in a 1v1 in a corrupted dungeon maybe, and you're just trying to like boot people into traps or just mess with them, stop their channels, or even in a team fight, you are a peeling god with this weapon. You just take people out. It's really, really fun. I'd recommend using it if you like kind of playing, not being like the top damage dealer of the group, but maybe you want to be more of a support kind of a role, like a nuisance, a lot of peel, a lot of CC. Quarterstaff is a great thing to go for. Now we're going to move into the bow. So we're going to get into our ranged weapons now. That's it mostly for the melee ones. So now we're getting into bow. Bow is a very fun weapon. It's one of the kiting kings of the game, honestly. There's many different types of bows depending on the activity that you're doing. So a rundown of the Journeyman's Bow abilities. Our Q1 is multi-shot, damage and crowd control. So you release damage in front of you like a cone, and it's super strong into melee players. Whether you're fighting mobs, you're trying to kite them, you're in a 1v1 against a melee matchup, or you're just in a team fight, you knock people back with this cone. So it's actually very good for controlling maybe mages or casters when they're channeling something. You hit them with this knockback, you've disrupted their ability, and it's on a 5-second cooldown. Does decent damage, very strong. Your W ability, explosive arrows. Now the normal bow, the regular bow, when you get into the higher tiers of weapons, is one of the best single target damage dealing weapons in the game. When this thing starts unloading its damage and ramping up, it shreds through anything. It does more damage single target than most things in this game will. And that's because of the W and E. So explosive arrows, you enchant your next 10 arrows for the next 15 seconds, causing them to explode on impact. Each explosion deals 40 magical damage to all enemies. So this does work like an AoE, but mainly for single target. And your E, Enchanted Quiver, enchants up to 18 normal attacks for the next 30 seconds. So that's 18 auto attacks. You're just destroying someone. Each enchanted normal attack increases your physical normal attack damage by 30%, your attack speed by 13%, and it stacks up to 7 times for 2.5 seconds. So, and here's another added bonus. If you hit the max amount of stacks, the normal attack will then decrease the damage resistance of the targeted enemy. So this thing just destroys people in a straight up 1v1 fight. Now, obviously, people have interrupts, they have invis, they have shield, there's all kinds of things. But if we're talking just straight hitting someone in the face, this weapon is it. This is what you want. You're a turret, basically. You just shred through people. So your passive, slow poison, kind of like the spear. It's in the same tree as spears. Every normal attack, you slow the enemy. This one, it's actually useful because it really helps with the kiting. Energetic, I never ever use energetic for bows, but if you want to, it's there. So we'll just give a little target practice here. So you see the auto attack damage really isn't that great unless you're using the abilities. Let's use the Q. So it's a pretty decent cone. And again, if there's like 10 people right here, there won't be. But if there is, you knock them all back. So there's no cap on how many people it can hit. So very good for kiting. Now, I'm going to use the W and the E. Sadly, there's nothing here strong enough to really take the full channel of it. But we're going to try anyway. So use the W, use the E, they're buffs, and you just start hitting people. So you see how it slowly ramps up? Like, look at that damage, and you just keep going with it. Look how fast that is. I mean, you're a literal machine gun with this weapon. Just blitz through people. So as far as ranged matchups, if you really like using the bow. The normal regular bow is a very strong weapon. I would recommend just getting used to how bows feel. You go with this weapon for a while. You can use it in PvP, PvE, whatever you want. Our second Q, Deadly Shot. A very strong poke ability. You shoot an arrow in a targeted direction. You pierce through all enemies. So if you have a people line up in a row perfectly straight, you're going to hit every single one of them. It does decent damage, and it decreases their damage resistances by 7 for 6 seconds. So you can actually sit there, and if you're really good with your aim, you can get a pretty sizable debuff on them. But for what most of the time, at least in a 1v1 situation, maybe even small scale PvP, bow users will use Frost Shot. And Frost Shot is so annoying, especially for melee players like me. I prefer melee. I love melee. That's generally what I do in all these kinds of games. But Frost Shot, it does damage, crowd control, and it's huge on mobility. So you fire an ice arrow in front of you, which explodes, and it actually knocks you back 13 meters. It does a little bit of damage, but as you gain distance away from your enemy, they're then slowed by 40% for like 4.5 seconds. I mean, that's huge. So we'll try the Q2 here so you can see the range on it is huge. Like it's actually out of my screen on the top. You see, well, just barely out of range there. Cooldown's low, so it doesn't matter. But you see the distance you get on that. He's deep, but now he's slowed with this ability. I mean, it's going to take him forever to get to me. You can kite people with this pretty well. Now for our W, what you want to do is you want to aim it in front of you. So he's standing here, I aim it at him, and it just launches me behind him. You see how strong that is? Look how slow he is. Like, he's not getting back to me. So if you're into kiting stuff and just shooting from a distance, bow, that's going to be your game. That's going to be one of your favorite weapons to use. So our second ranged weapon that we have that does physical damage is the Crossbow. So the Crossbow is a very good weapon. Not a lot of people use it. It does some of the best DPS in the game also. I know it's popular in HCEs. If you don't know what that is, we'll probably cover that in a future video. But to start us off with our Q1 auto fire. Auto fire is deceptively strong. If you're ever up against a crossbow player, you want to make sure that you just watch out for this ability, because when you focus your attack on a targeted enemy, so it's single target, you deal 56 damage every 0.3 seconds for 1.5, so it's a channel, and you're hitting them again and again and again. But at the end of it, the last attack explodes and does magical damage. So you have a hybrid ability here, physical and magical. And don't underestimate this ability. If someone's hitting you with this, it can actually do a lot of damage. And it's a 5-second cooldown. So it can really shred through you if you're not paying attention. Your W, great against melee matchups, or if you're in PvE, you're trying to kite mobs. Damage, crowd control, and it's a buff. You shoot a bolt, you knock them back by 9.3 meters. That's a pretty good distance you can knock someone back. You do a good amount of damage to them. And if you actually hit them, you reduce your cast speed and increase your attack speed. Now that's super strong. 12-second cooldown, very low. The reason being is it synergizes so well with your E. Now your E is probably one of the most fun abilities in the game, because the amount of damage that this single ability does, it is what it says. It's a snipe. You snipe the targeted enemy and you deal massive amounts of damage. It is a channel, so when you use it, you have 2.5 seconds. You're casting it, so you can get interrupted, but that's why this synergizes so well, because it increases your cast time. Your passive abilities in the crossbow, forceful bolts, through normal auto attacks, you actually knock the target back, so that's a pretty good ability. Well prepared. After 4 spells that you've cast, you reset the cooldown of your first slot ability. I see a lot of crossbow users do this because of the auto fire in their Q. You can basically use it and then immediately use it again after. And then if you need it, these are way too strong to ever probably do energetic, but it's up to you. So let's try this out. Because you see the range is pretty decent, and you shred through them, and I almost killed that guy with just one single cast. Like, that's how strong this Q is. And you can see the auto attacks are slowly pushing him back. So you can kite pretty well with this build also. So let's use it on these guys now, our W. We're doing auto fire, we're doing stuff, and we use W. Look how far back he went. I mean, kiting on this thing is really good. So let's use our snipe now. So you see, it's a channel. Does take a while, but boom, one shot. The guy's done. Doesn't even stand a chance. Crossbow is a strong weapon. If you're getting into range, I would try light crossbow. This one's just a normal crossbow, but I would honestly try light crossbow, especially if you're going into corrupted dungeons. You have no idea how to really do PvP. You can find a very cheap light crossbow build, and I think that's one of the best ways you can start getting wins quick and start making money, getting used to fights as a light crossbow. So let's actually try and synergize our W and E now. So we see a melee target there. Let's hit him. Let's knock him back. Hit him with the E, and see how it's faster now. The cast time, like that thing is just so strong, it's insane. All right, so we'll just take this guy down, we'll get out of here, then we'll go into our other abilities. So our Q2, Explosive Bolt. Fire an explosive bolt in the targeted position, dealing a pretty decent amount of damage, and it's only got a 2-second cooldown. When you're up against melee matchups, sometimes this is the better choice, because you can kite them with your knockback shot. You get distance. If you happen to have this as well, you're gaining even more distance from them, and you're pelting them on the ground as they start to get close to you. Your range is 13 meters. Your second W and your crossbow. A lot of players use this for PvE. You can use it for PvP. It just depends on your style. It's a damage and a debuff. You release a well-aimed bolt. So it's a channel, or it has a casting time. It does decent damage, and it decreases their resistances by 6 for every 10% health the target has left. So you want to use this on targets with more health, basically. I mean, you can use it on a lower health target, but the goal is to use it at the beginning of the fight to get the maximum amount of resistance stacks lost. So let's use it on this guy. He has full health. So you see that you get the full 10 stack right there. And then all the damage after that is just gonna hurt him bad. So our Q here, you see how it kind of works. It's an AoE. And the casting range, I mean, that's pretty far. If you're trying to kite someone, maybe you have knockback shot instead. They're coming at you. Like, you can just hit them there, walk back a little bit, hit them again, knock them back if you can. And you can kite melees out pretty well with this weapon. We're moving away from the ranged physical DPS, the melees. Now we're getting into the casting, all of our staffs and things such as that. I generally don't go for these kind of styles of builds and things like that, but it's still nice to play with, to get familiar with, so you can understand how they work, maybe so you can counter them in the future. So for our offhand this time, we're going to the Tome of Spells for obvious reasons. It gives you energy regeneration, and cast time modifier, which is important for trying to get off those channeled spells very fast. So we're starting with the Fire Staff. Our Q1 is a Firebolt. Self-explanatory, you shoot fire. Like, it's every mage in every single MMO. I cast Firebolt. But when you do it, you also ignite the targeted enemy, and you deal a dot, 39 damage over 4 seconds, and you can stack this, so you can actually get a lot of value out of casting it. There's no cooldown, so you just keep throwing it. You just have a cast time, that's all. Your W, Ignite, it's a damage and a buff. You ignite the target, dealing 250 magical damage. Which is actually, it's a pretty good number. If the enemy is below 40% health, your cast times will be reduced by 40%. And your move speed, which is interesting that they put this in on this ability, your move speed will actually be increased by 40%. So it only has a 10-second cooldown, so you could probably use it in the beginning of a fight or against mobs. But if you time it just well and you get that down again when they're below 40%, you can finish them off with Qs very fast. Or your E, which is Pyroblast. Pyroblast shoots a massive ball of fire, dealing huge damage, and it gives them a dot as well. Super strong ability. You can do a lot. You can wreck someone with this, but you do have a 1.3 second cast time, so that does leave you vulnerable to being interrupted. Your passives, Burn. Each normal attack sets the target on fire, dealing it's very small damage, but it's damage, right? And again, you have Energetic. If you need it, it's there. So let's use it now on this mob. So we're hitting him. You see the burn. He's just burning. And we're just going with our Q. Like, I'm spamming it right now, and he's just dying so fast. So PvE, like, you can really shred through mobs with this thing. But PvP, because you are a caster, you're not maybe as chunky with health unless you're wearing some kind of plate, maybe. Maybe you have a shield. I don't know. Just depends on your build. But you can't always just sit there and hit them like that. So W, hit him with Ignite. I mean, these mobs are so easy. He just died immediately. But it's a strong ability still. So now let's do our Pyroblast so you can see how long it takes to channel. So you hit it. It's not the longest time ever, but it does leave you open to attack. So just be mindful of that when you're using it. Now let's go to our Q2, which is Burning Field. So you fire a burning orb at the targeted position, and it's everything in a 3-meter radius you do damage to, and it sets the ground on fire. And as long as someone's in it, you're dealing continuous damage. This is perfect for zoning. 4-second cooldown, very small cast time, but it's perfect for zoning enemies. So when you're in those small scale fights, or maybe you're just trying to do group AoE, DPS in a dungeon with, a group or something. But when you're doing PvP, like in 2v2s or 5v5s, it's really good at just keeping consistent damage on people or trying to zone people off and block them from certain areas. Now, this ability here, the second on your W, Wall of Flames, does damage and crowd control. This thing is really strong against melee matchups. Doesn't do a thing for you against range. But what you do is you create a 14-meter wide firewall, and it lasts for 5 seconds. Sets all enemies aflame that touch it, and it deals damage. So it's important when you cast this, and they're trying to come at you, they can't pass through the wall of fire. So for a melee matchup, depending on their build, because some of them can get through it with a very specific ability, but for the most part, they either have to go around, or if you angle it just right, they have to wait until it's over. And that can cost them the fight. So it's a very strong ability against melees, and I'll use it here. So first, let's go with the Q. So you see, it just does a little bit of fire. It'll do some damage. But now let's hit this guy. I don't want to do that. We'll hit this guy, throw up our W, and you see that? How he ran away in fear? That's how strong that ability is. It's pretty good, especially in the 1v1s. Now we're going to take a look at the Frost Staff. We did fire, so let's now transition into ice. So ice is a very good kiting. Fire, you have a lot of dot damage. You have a lot of burst damage. But with ice, you can kite people out pretty well. Especially recently in the last year and a half, people have been using it a lot for ganking because you get a ton of mobility when it comes to Frost and a lot of CC, obviously. Frostbolt, you shoot a Frostbolt at the enemy, you do damage, and you have some crowd control because you slow them by 25% for 2.68 seconds. And there's no cooldown. So again, you can just sit there and spam it and keep them permanently slowed if you want. W, Frostbomb. You conjure a Frostbomb at the targeted position. You deal a ton of damage to all enemies within a 5-meter radius after a few seconds. And it slows them for a pretty good amount of time. 4.4 seconds is a long time. Your E, Freezing Wind. You blow Freezing Wind in a cone in front of you. You deal a lot of magical damage. And enemies inside the wind become gradually frozen over 0.8 seconds, first slowing them, and then it ends in a root. So you see there's a lot of CC in this build. Passives, Frost, everything normal. Auto attacks, root the target for short duration. Energetic, and aggressive caster. After 4 spells cast, you reduce your cast time by 40% for 3 seconds. So depending on your style of build, that actually might come in quite handy. So let's use this ability. Let's go with the Frost one. So you see I'm just hitting him with it, kind of kite him out a little bit. It's not that much ground I get from it, but with other builds it can work pretty well. Now let's use our W. So you see the range is decent, the area is decent too. Little Frost Bomb, and boom, he's hit. And everything in that would be hit. I don't see a lot of people ever use that, but this game is sandbox, so you create styles, create builds that you want, right? All right, so now let's go for our E, Freezing Wind. Try and find some people here. Some more are starting to come in and take my mobs now, but here, let's use it on these guys. No, I'll leave them alone. Use it on this guy. So you see it in a line projectile in front of you. You hit it. So it hits them and it slows, but after a little bit, they actually get frozen in place. And that's one of the huge kiting abilities that people use on this weapon. There's a lot of Frost Staffs in Corrupted Dungeons for the 1v1s. And for gankers, this is generally what they want. Because you can use a build with a very fast movement speed on your boot, and you can just catch up right to them, hit them with that, and then they're rooted. And then you're Frost, so you can keep them slowed almost permanently, and then your team can clean up and get the gank off. But now look at our Q2. Hoarfrost, you fire an icicle at a targeted enemy, explodes on impact, deals pretty good damage, and then damage to surrounding enemies. So that's kind of like an AoE clear. And then your W, Frost Nova. So this is the other ability that gankers use. It does damage, crowd control, buff, mobility. Very strong ability. You teleport to the targeted position. You can't go through obstacles, but you release a Frost Nova within 5 meters around the starting position. So where you start, you release Frost Nova. You stun all enemies that are in it for a very short duration. You deal some damage, and then you get immunity for damage in that time frame. So the combo here, so maybe you're trying to, well, let's use our Q first so you see how it looks. So you see, you cast it. It's a little bit longer than the other one, but look at that damage. Look at that. Big, chunky damage. I generally don't like using it because the cast time is kind of long. But so let's say you're ganking someone. They're coming across the screen up to the top left. You see them. You teleport and you hit them with that. I mean, you covered a lot of distance in that time. You probably caught up to them if you saw them on your screen and you rooted them. That gives them just enough time, so maybe you can spam your other Q on them or whatever, and your team can follow up with the gank. So if you get into ganking, this is a good starter weapon to use. Now we're going to take a look at the Cursed Staff. Now, Cursed Staffs are super strong in 1v1 situations. They're good in any, if you're looking for group activity, group PvP, group PvE. But in a 1v1 fight, there are certain Cursed Staff builds in their tree that you use, and they're just hard to beat. Cursed is very strong right now. With the Mercenary Jacket nerfs that are coming up for dots, I don't know how strong they'll be after that, but time will tell. So at least for now, your Q1, Vile Curse, you curse a target enemy dealing 37 magical damage. Not that much, right? But you apply a Curse Charge. And each Curse Charge deals 152 damage over 8 seconds, stacks up to 4 times, 2-second cooldown. So Curse Staffs are more about dots. Like just a lot of dots, you slowly whittle your enemy down. Your W ability, Armor Piercer, you release a beam in the targeted direction, dealing 234 magical damage to enemies hit, and you reduce their resistances, so you get a nice little debuff. And everyone that's in that projectile gets hit with this. It doesn't stop on one person. And then your E, Death Curse. This is what really makes this weapon strong. You place a Death Curse on the targeted enemy, so it's not the ground, it's on one person. After a very short amount of time, you deal magical damage, and it's based on the amount of curse charges you have on them. So you can see here the little damage graph. You do just 284 if you have no charges, 426, 1, 568, 2, 738, 3, and you do 966 damage with 4 charges on them. It's like a bomb. You're throwing a bomb on an enemy, and once the cooldown, after 5 seconds, they get hit with it, and it can execute people pretty well. The bad part about it is because it's telegraphed, people know, like good fighters, good PvPers will know when it's coming, so they'll use maybe a defensive cooldown to avoid the damage. Guardian Helm cleanses dots, so if you have that on them, they use Guardian Helm, it's gone. But some people don't run those kinds of builds, so you can take them out in the 1v1. Your passive ability is Bane. Every 4 normal auto attacks, you cause an explosion. That does damage, AoE. Energetic, there it is again. And then Furious. After 5 spells cast, increase your damage dealt by 10% for 4 seconds. Could try that out, might work. So let's see it in action. So the auto attacks are kind of but you see I just put the curse on him. There's a skull. He's just gathering damage. Slowly but surely just whittling him down. Once you get those stacks going, it really starts to shred through people. So now for the W, it's a pretty long projectile. I mean, look at that distance. I'm going to go here and I can hit both of them. See that? Almost goes off the screen there. So pretty decent. Let's reset this. Go back in. So I'm going to apply the curse stacks on this guy and throw my E on him. So hit him once. Hit him twice. I'm going to throw the E now so he doesn't die. So you see it's on him. It's cooling down. He's even getting healed and it'll pop. See, 622 damage. It does a ton of damage. Now let's take a look at our second abilities. Cursed Sickle shoots a Cursed Sickle in a targeted direction, piercing through all enemies, and it returns to you. So it's like a boomerang. You throw it to a targeted position. Anyone that it touches, it'll apply a Curse Stack on them. So this is a targeted ability, whereas the Cursed Sickle, it's AoE. Anyone that it touches on the way out and way back, it'll apply a stack on them. Cursed Beam, you concentrate a beam of vile energy at the target, dealing 65 magical damage every 0.5 seconds while channeling. So this is a channeled ability. which they're strong, but you have to be careful about them because channeled abilities can be interrupted. But if you have at least one curse charge on them, the beam will consume that charge per tick and deal extra damage in a radius. So you can synergize it well with your cursed stack. So let's equip that. I should have done that already, but we'll wait for the cooldowns. Maybe we'll start hitting this guy. Yeah, when you play with cursed staffs, it's a very different style of play compared to all the other weapons. It just kind of depends on what your play style. So you see that's the cursed sickle. You throw it out, it goes out, comes back like a boomerang. So now your W will throw a stack on this guy, on both of them. So it comes out, does damage to them, and it comes back. So that's 2 stacks. So now we'll channel the W, and you see it's just shredding right through him. Oh, look at that. I got a helmet. Now I'm rich. Let's take a look at how much money this bad boy's worth. Where'd it go? There it is. Look at that, 99 silver. Man, I should just quit my YouTube career now. I've got all the money that I need. So that's Quarterstaff. I don't really play Quarterstaff ever. It's not my cup of tea, but it is strong. So you do have to know how it works so you can fight against it, because a smart Quarterstaff user will destroy you. Like it's a very strong weapon line. It really is. We've played around with weapons. We've played around with bows. We've played around with staffs. We've played around with axes, swords, hammers. Now let's get into the healing of the game. So to start us off, we have the Nature Staff. Now, nature healing is more hot based, so healing over time. You have holy healing, you have nature healing. Holy healing is that more instant healing that hits you full force right away, whereas nature, you're just throwing a bunch of hots on everyone and it slowly ramps up. So again, depending on your style of play, you might want to use this, you might want to use holy. It just depends on you. So your Q, Rejuvenation. Renew the targeted ally's strength, applying 1 rejuvenation charge. Each rejuvenation charge restores 108 health over 8 seconds. But this stacks, so you can actually get them healing pretty frequently here with this. If the target already has 3 charges, all charges will be consumed, and you restore 12 energy. So you get a energy back mechanic, which is kind of nice. W, Revitalize. Revitalize a targeted ally, restoring 117 health and 14 energy every 1 second while channeling. So you sit there on a channel and you restore someone, basically. You give them energy, you give them health. It's a pretty good ability. E is your Circle of Life. You do damage and healing with some crowd control. So you mend the wounds of up to 5 allies within an 11-meter radius, healing them based on the amount of charges. So this is charge-based. If you have max charges, you do more healing. If you have 3 or more thorn charges, this is another Q, so we'll go over that when we change our abilities. So for now, let's heal our buddy here, Wendell's. Just give him a Q. You see that leaf surrounding him? That's the charge. And see how it went from 15 to 31? That's because I'm increasing my charges. So he's got a nice heal there. I just used all 3. It killed the charges, so you do have to watch out for that, because maybe you're trying to heal them and you accidentally delete the charges yourself. So I'm healing them up. Cooldown is instant. Like there's no cooldown on this thing. Hit him with W. There's the channel. You're healing everything about him. Super nice ability. It's strong in PvE, PvP, whatever you're doing. And then our E now. So look at that AoE. Like, that's a huge radius that you're hitting everyone with. You do a big chunky heal, and then you do another rejuvenation charge on everyone around you. So now let's go to our second Q. This is what actually allows you to do some kind of fighting. Maybe you're doing solo dungeons or even a PvP. I know healing builds were so strong way back in the day because of thorns. So we have thorns here. You imbue yourself with Nature's Wrath. You enchant your next 5 normal auto attacks for the next 10 seconds with thorn charges. Each thorn charge sprouts thorns in a 3-meter radius around the target enemy, dealing damage. So it's actually an AoE ability. So you buff your auto attacks. Oh, this guy wants to join party now. Sorry, we're just doing a video. So you buff your auto attacks, and you increase all your damage by 10% for 10 seconds. So you can actually clear pretty decent with that. Your second W is Cleanse Heal. You revitalize up to 5 allies in a 4-meter radius in a targeted position, healing them based off the number of charges. So this is also charge-based. One of the best things about this is you get a cleanse. So it cleanses all crowd control effects and debuffs except for dots. So you don't get rid of dots. But maybe you have a group that's stunned. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of crowd controls and debuffs. Maybe their damage resistance to things is taken down. I mean, who knows? But you can cleanse it all with this ability. 18-second cooldown, not too bad. So now the second part of our E, if you have 3 or more thorn charges active on you, you root all enemies within the heal radius for 1.78 seconds, and you deal some damage. Not a lot, but some. So let's actually give this a go now. Oh man, they cleared all the mobs. Why would they do this to me? So I'm coming in here. We'll hit this guy. So you see, you hit him with the Q. Those thorns spiking up, that's a thorn stack. So I'm hitting him again. I get more stacks on my thorns. Now I'm going to hit my E. You see, you do all kinds of damage on everyone. So it's a pretty decent PvE weapon if you're doing solo. It's not too bad. So you do the area of effect cleanse heal, pretty decent. I like nature healing. It's a lot of fun. And the other MMOs I've played, if I ever did healing, I did more of a heal over time kind of style build, because I like how you can manage your heals a lot better. But that's just me. That's my style. Again, it's Albion Online. It's a sandbox. You want to find your own style how to play this game. Okay, so let's go to the other side of healing, the Holy Staff. Holy healing. So very straightforward, generous heal. Cast a healing prayer and target ally, restoring 194 health. So 2-second cooldown, very small cast time. You want to heal someone, hit him with this. It's straightforward, cut and dry. W, Sacred Pulse, damage healing, crowd control. You release a Sacred Pulse within a 5-meter radius around the targeted ally. You restore health up to 5 allies, so it's AoE heal, but you also do a knockback. Anyone that's hit 8 meters, they go flying away, and you do 200 damage in the process. So decent amount of damage, but it's very good for peel, or maybe you're trying to interrupt someone's ability, someone's channel, who knows. It's a very strong ability, though. Your E, Desperate Prayer, you cast a Desperate Prayer on the target ally, and you heal them based on their current health, hence the name Desperate, ha ha ha. So if their health is above 40%, it's not going to be that great, but if they're below the threshold, meaning they're getting close to dying, you get a better heal. So that teaches you how to use your abilities, maybe save them for certain points, use them at certain times, certain thresholds. It just kind of depends. So we're going to use the Q here. You see the area is pretty decent and not too bad. I'm going to sit here, spam heals, consecutive spells, blah, blah, hit my heals. And here's my W. So you can actually use that on yourself. It's a self-cast. Now you do want to be careful with healing people. Is healing sickness, that can happen and it reduces heal. But for now, because we're looking at starting off the beginning of the game, don't worry about that too much. But notice how my heals are less now. So it was more than 148, and you see it's right here. Caused by consecutive self-healing. Healing received is reduced by 40%. That's to stop healers from basically owning every single 1v1 fight ever. Because for a while there, it was simply just, I can just heal myself infinitely and you can't beat me. But this does keep it in check. Now our Desperate Heal for our Desperate Prayer, it's simple. I mean, this is a very straightforward healing. There's not much to it. Once you get into the other kinds of Holy Staffs, it starts to get more in depth in their abilities, which is nice. But for now, it's pretty basic. Our second Q, this is the damage part, so you can do damage in PvP or PvE. Smite the target. You do a good, decent amount of damage, and you increase your damage by 50% for 8 seconds. There's no cooldown, only cast time. So you can chunk some people out with this ability. Holy Beam. You focus a Holy Beam at the targeted ally, healing the target for 44 health every 1 second. So this is a channeled ability. The healing increases by 44 for every 1 second channeled. So if you want to get off a huge heal, you risk getting interrupted because it is a 6-second channel. And people in fights, honestly, people are going to be gunning for you because you're the healer. Once they take you out, it's not always guaranteed a loss, but if you die as a healer, it almost is going to be a guaranteed loss for your team. So you have to be mindful of that if people are trying to interrupt your channels. But if you get this channel off, you do a pretty decent heal onto someone. You can't target yourself, so we're going to have Akira here. Get that juicy heal. Look at that. See how fast that ramps up? I mean, that's a lot of healing done. Hit him with the Desperate Prayer. Boom. Ton of healing. So let's use our Q a few times so you kind of get a feel for it. The smite time is, the channel is pretty long. I'm not a big fan of that. But that's also to make it so the healing isn't overpowered. But yeah, that's healing. Oh, and before I forget, I forgot to go through the passives. You have your adrenaline driven charity. After every 4 spells cast, increase your healing cast by 20% for 3 seconds. Pretty decent if you learn how to time that just right. You can get off some clutch heals. Energetic, it's always there. I generally don't take it, but if you need it, there it is. The Arcane Staff, and I love Arcane. I love what they've done with this weapon tree in this game. Arcane weapons are really wacky. Like, they can do a lot of different things, and honestly, I think they're one of the most fun weapons you can have in this game. You can get out there and do some crazy stuff. You can really mess with people. Arcane's fun. I love it. I recommend everyone to go out there and try using Arcane just to have fun, because that's the point of the game, right? So Arcane, our first Q, Energy Bolt. Fire an Energy Bolt at the targeted enemy. You deal magic damage based on the energy of the target. So that's a very interesting ability. So basically, based on their mana, you will do more damage. I always thought that was kind of neat how they put that mechanic in with this. So 80%, not that much, but if they're below 20%, you do some pretty decent damage. No cooldown. Cast time is 1 second. But for mobs, you always deal that flat amount of damage, whatever it is. Your first W, Frazzle. You fire arcane energy at the targeted enemy. You deal damage, but you decrease their defense by 23% for 5 seconds. So this isn't all resistances. This is their defense. So physical. Pretty good debuff. It's great in group fights. Maybe you're fighting against mobs, whatever. Then your E, Arcane Orb, damage and crowd control. You shoot a sphere of arcane energy in the target direction. You deal not the best damage, honestly. It does have an AoE impact that it can hit them with. But the best part about this is it's a purge. So you purge all buffs from the enemy except for healing over time effects, and you silence them for 1.5 seconds. So maybe they're coming at you with a mercenary jacket, they've got their bloodlust going, you hit them with this, it's gone. Or maybe they're coming at you with a one-handed dagger, right? And they have their E activated and they're trying to shred through you. You silence them with this. So whether it's a channeled ability, they have some kind of a buff on them. Like, the E on this staff is super strong. It's good for 1v1s. It's good for group activities when you're trying to maybe lock down a target, healer, who knows. It's a very good ability. Passives, Hush. After every 5 spells cast, your next normal attack silences the target. I like to use that a lot. Energetic, not even going to talk about energetic. So let's use them now on some mobs. Use our Q. Right, basic. I mean, it does good damage against these mobs, but it's not the best thing in the world. But you need some kind of damage in order to play it anyway, right? Now let's use our W, Frazzle. A little bit longer channel, but now he's wounded. So Frazzle, not the best ability. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of it. But let's use our E now. So you see the distance on this thing? I mean, you can shoot super far with this. That's great for corrupted dungeons too, just because of the kite ability with it. You hit it here, so you hit that orb, and then they're purged. And they're silenced. Strong ability. I like it a lot. Now let's go to our second Q and our second W. So our second Q, this is where the support part comes into Arcane, because you can do damage builds kind of, but then you can do a lot of like crazy support style buffing builds. You give the targeted ally a shield absorbing 680 damage before resistances during the next 2 seconds. That's a lot of damage that you can shield someone. So maybe you're up against a team with a burst comp, or you're fighting a mob like a boss that's about to do a heavy attack. You hit your tank with this, or you hit your healer with this, you're going to pretty much save their life. So allies wearing plate armor will have their threat generation increased by 200%. So this is another kind of cool mechanic that you don't see in a lot of games. Depending on what gear they have equipped, you get a different kind of buff. So again, if you're doing PvE, your tanks will have even better threat generation. So you're helping them out with that. Allies wearing leather or cloth will have their threat generation decrease. So maybe you have a bow user and they're just, I don't know, they're supercharged and they're just tearing through the boss and he keeps taking aggro. You use this on him, you're going to decrease the threat generation. But the best part, obviously, is the huge shield you get with this ability. Our second W, Energy Beam. Manipulate the flow of energy while channeling. If the targeted enemy is an enemy, you remove 9 energy from them and you add energy to you. So you drain energy from people. I haven't seen a whole lot of builds where people do this. I mean, you could use it in And some fights, maybe you target a healer and you're just trying to drain their energy so they can't heal anymore. It could be good. I've never used it, so it's something you'd have to play around with. If the target is an ally, you add 18 energy to them and remove energy from you. So if they're using a very heavy energy build, you can sacrifice your own energy to buff them. Just depends on your playstyle. But I love Arcane. There's so much fun you can do with this weapon tree. Highly recommend it if you're just looking to try something different. Well, that's all I have for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the little guide to the T3 weapons, just so it can get you started and get the ball rolling so you know what to do before you invest too much time in something that you might not enjoy. But I am going to make more guides in the future like this, more videos, maybe on some gameplay, some 1v1 fights, group activities. Honestly, whatever you guys want to see, leave a suggestion in the comment section. Leave a comment in there and let me know what kind of things you'd like to see or maybe questions you have about the game, and I'll do my best to make a video on it. I'm also going to be trying to do more videos on other content, just like Albion, because I want this to be a variety channel, not just stuck to one game. But I do love Albion, so thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.